And in other news, at least six members of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers are convicted for their involvement in January 6th. Now, I gotta say, some of these sentences are a little better than I thought. Some of them are a little less than they should be. Some of them are, I think, are just right where they're at. You got six of them. Let's check it out here. So Dominic Pezzola, he got 10 years in a federal prison, and then he gets 3 years of supervised release. I don't know if I'm all the way for that, but I mean, hey, I would have just said, hey, just throw 13 years on him and then release him. But I mean, hey, whatever. At least he's taking a punishment. So he's locked up, and that means he'll be miserable, he'll suffer, and he can't do anything. Kelly Meggs, 12 years with 3 years of supervised release. Zachary Rehl, 15 years. Joseph Biggs, 17 years. Ethan Nordean, or Nordean, I want to say it's Nordean, but, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, 18 years. And then, here's an even better one. Now, this is the part I really want to get to. Enrique Tarrio, he gets 22 years. Now, again, on top of the fact that I'm so happy that that's 6 less people that can vote for you-know-who in the next election, here's one thing I want to get to. This is what I found to be really interesting. And I'm telling you, people, this is hilarious. So Enrique's mother recently spoke out about her son's conviction. Now, her name is Zuni Duarte. Here's what she said, according to Local 10. She said, "Justice has failed us all." The mother of Enrique Tarrio speaks on her son's prison sentence in Miami Lakes, Florida. Zuni Duarte, the mother of former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio, spoke at a press conference on Thursday in Miami Lakes after her son was sentenced to 22 years in prison for orchestrating a failed plot to keep Trump in power after the Republican lost the 2020 presidential election. Speaking alongside her son's defense attorney, she said the government had used her son as a political pawn and decried how her family had already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to defend him against charges he had sought to violently overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. She emphasized that her son was not in Washington, D.C. on January 6th and claimed he had left town a few days before. She also said even though he was the leader of a neo-fascist white supremacist group, she still called him a good person. Lady, do you understand how... Okay, there's a couple questions that I have to her and to anyone who agrees with her. First of all, doesn't your party support things like law and order, due process, rule of law, constitution? I mean, these are the things that you guys always tout this type of stuff. Oh, Democrats don't respect the rule of law. They don't respect Constitution. They just want to be all anarchists and just do anything and take no consequence. Republicans abide by the law. And Trump supporters and MAGA people abide by the law. And the law has to be fair. Well, you know what? To be fair, there is this thing called sedition, which your son and many other people, but especially these 5 other people here that I listed, were involved in. And so anybody who's involved in something like that, regardless of skin color, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of gender identity, regardless of ethnicity or religion or political affiliation or race, if you're involved in that, you have to take a punishment for it. I mean, here, look. Sedition is overt conduct such as speech or organization that tends towards rebellion against the established order. Sedition often includes subversion of a constitution and incitement of discontent towards or insurrection against established authority. Sedition is a serious felony punishable by fines and prison time. Sedition is inciting revolt or violence against a lawful authority to destroy or overthrow it. And then what does it say right here? Seditious conspiracy, conspiracy to obstruct Congress, obstruction of Congress, and destruction of evidence all carry a statutory maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. All charges carry potential financial penalties. Okay, so here's like the one thing I could say about that. Okay, so they said a maximum of 20 years. They gave him 22 years. Okay, I understand the legit argument to say, oh, it shouldn't get more than 20 years. 22 years, so that's justice has failed us. She goes on to say this. Hold on. She says, we have rapists, murderers, human trafficking that gets very few years of sentencing in comparison to the 22 years my son has been sentenced for. He's always been a good person, involved in politics, in the best, always with law enforcement. All right, so I don't know if I 100% agree or 100% disagree with that matter to say, well, rapists, murderers, and human traffickers get fewer sentences in comparison to, I don't know. It just really depends on the crime. It depends on the severity of the crime and how many people were affected by the crime. Was it intentional? Was it unintentional? So when you look at murder, for example, when you look at somebody getting killed, that usually has 4 different levels to it. So you have first degree murder, you have second degree murder, you have manslaughter in the first degree, and then you have second degree manslaughter, which is usually referred to as involuntary manslaughter. You know, if you come across a nice judge, a nice prosecutor, a good jury, and a real good defense attorney, you might get lucky enough to get maybe 10 years out of that. Manslaughter on average, manslaughter, second degree murder, usually like 15 to 20 years. Sometimes second degree can get you 25. Premeditated murder, which is first degree, is 25 to life. So it's not all 100% true what she's saying right there. It depends on the crime. Now, when you talk about rapists, now, I actually looked at most of the penalties in a lot of the different states. And for rape on average is like 5 to 10 years in most states. Some states only give you a minimum of 1 year. Other states can give you life. So the rape part, personally, I think that the penalty for rape should be a little higher. I think it should be no less than 20 years. Me personally, 20 to 25 years, I think it should be the same as murder. That's me personally. So I almost somewhat kind of lean towards agreeing with her on that part. Much as I hate to say that, but your son and these other people were involved in this plot to threaten officials at the Capitol and pressure them into overturning the results of an election. And by the way, I don't know what she means when she says that the government is using her son as a pawn. Because the only reason why your son was there, well, first of all, let's keep in mind, I know that everybody says everybody takes personal responsibility. There's that. The guy who encouraged your son to do that was the guy who was president before the guy we have now. So your son had a choice. I mean, he could have just simply not gone there. He could have not been involved in the staging of a Capitol or staging insurrecting. You could have not done that. The same way that other people who supported other presidential candidates chose to not do that when they lost. The same way that even other Republican candidates that I don't like John McCain or Mitt Romney, or these other Republicans who ran who never made it, like Ted Cruz, or, Rick Scott, or Scott Walker, and the others Ben Carson. They all lost in 2016, and as much as I don't like them, well, at least they shut up and went home. And at least their supporters had stayed home. The worst that they did was talk crap on Facebook or something, or do angry videos or whatever. Same thing with the Democrat side. The people who supported Al Gore, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders. Yeah, we were mad when they lost, but we didn't go pressuring officials to go overturning results. We weren't telling state secretaries to dig up 11,000 votes, or we weren't standing outside of a building saying stop the vote or stop the steal or end the steal or whatever all this dumb stuff they were saying. Your son is 39 years old. That's what it says according to his son's 39. He should be old enough to understand that he has choices. And this was a choice this is something that he chose to do. So therefore, according to the rules of people who believe in law and order, due process, and abiding by a law, there's this thing that I've heard for a long time. It's called do the crime, do the time. And that's the path that your son chose. So he chose to do the crime, and now he's going to do the time. So, now I didn't see anything in here that said anything about parole. So I don't know if that's a possibility or a factor in this. So maybe he'll get out before 20 years. I don't know. But all I know is I think it's so hilarious that these people decided to go do what they did. And now here they are sitting and rotting in a federal prison, fighting for a guy who essentially doesn't even give a damn about them. Just, oh, he's going to bail us out. It's okay. He's looking out for us. Really? Because he doesn't seem to be that good at even looking out for himself. So that's a tough one. So your call. So other than that, so Proud Boys arrested, prosecuted, convicted. I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised at some of this because at first I thought they were just going to let them all get away. Because I understand that a lot of people just have little to no faith in the American justice system. So it's like that. At first I thought, well, I said, if they get convicted, they might do 5 to 10 years, if anything. But I'm seeing these people getting 15, 17, 18, 20, 22 years. The judge and the prosecutor, according to one article, said they were seeking 27 to 33 years. But on average, most of them got 15 to 20. So I would say it's definitely it's a lot better than nothing. But hey, you know what? You do the crime, so y'all are doing the time.